You want to make sure just your joy is also kind of like spread out, and you have different hobbies, different things you like to do, different aspects of your life that you're putting energy and time and focus into.
Welcome to episode 16 of the Archive Podcast.
16.
Today we are talking about, I don't know, is it fair to say we're talking about creating diversity in your business through like diverse revenue streams?
Yes. And so this is a conversation we would have ping-ponged back and forth over the last 2 years.
And we've done that.
We have done it many times. We've sat down over a cup of coffee and we've just said, hey, like I'll throw out ideas for my business. You'll throw out ideas for your business. And that is all it is like, how can we diversify what we do, make it a little bit better, expand. So this is like a conversation that is due because since we've had this studio, we really haven't we kind of have ping ponged a little bit, but we used to do this all the time, like on a monthly basis is ping pong ideas about how to diversify business for ourselves. So that's the main thing. We just kind of ping pong back and forth. What could we do in 2025 to expand upon our business? And I think a lot of people will get something out of this.
Yeah, and I would like to say for the record, before we get started, I appreciate the fact that you found my USA Olympics jumper jersey that I had in the 90s.
How sweet is this?
Dude, it is actually awesome.
So a client I used to work with, this was during COVID, we did a ton of I produced their entire podcast, and one of the girls that day had this on. And it was my birthday. And I said, oh my gosh, that is sick. Like, I love that thing. You got to let me know where you got that. The next day I show up to record their podcast and they had this in a gift bag for me. And so I wear it pretty much every year around this time. I love it so much.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, so talking about the 90s, obviously a great time to be born. What year were you born in?
98.
All right. So, bro. As my daughter told me the other day, I was born in the 1900s and she meant it seriously and that hurt my feelings. All right. So before we talk about more of my emotions, let's get into this because I think, I mentioned my daughter, but that's really how I think about this conversation. When I began thinking about seriously, I made my first dollar, from a one-off video that I made for somebody, I quickly realized, oh man, diversifying revenue streams is really important because if I'm going to one day support my family with this, it's got to be pretty, there's got to be a lot of revenue streams to come in to support this because it can vary. The variables are often too many to count. So what led you into that thought?
I think as a business owner, if you really want to grow as an entrepreneur, you realize from a very early stage that I must have multiple sources of income. That was something that business owners told me. That was some of the greatest advice I got early on when I was going into business is regardless of where you go in business, keep in mind it is important to have multiple sources of income. And so the way I've thought about that over the last few years is if one client or one area of clientele disappeared, would I be good? And that's kind of what I've always kept in the back of my mind. So, for example, if commercial work was no longer in the picture, would I still be decent, And the answer to that is usually yes. Like that is the goal, is to have multiple sources. You got, and I'm trying to think more broad, not just content creation or videography, photography right here. So maybe you're a small business retail store. Okay, if my wholesale was gone, would my online sales and my in-store sales still be good enough to operate? Hopefully, yes. So that's the way I like to think about multiple sources of income.
When I talk to like newer entrepreneurs that are getting into the game, this is one of the things that I encourage them to think about first. I don't think that you have to have like this super in-depth 5-page business plan, to launch, but I do think there are helpful practices to think through. So when I was kind of drawing out, and this is often, I have a pad of paper here. I always work on my computer except when I need to ideate, and I'll grab a piece of paper. I'll literally put in the middle of it the topic of what I'm doing is like, okay, business growth. And then I'll just start drawing lines out to these different ideas and kind of create a spider graph. And the reason that I think that's helpful is it begins to help you see just how diverse your idea is. How many different inputs are contributing to the overall health of that central item. And so the thing that I would say, and I would say you can stop listening to me after I say this, diversity in your income streams creates resiliency. Because, like you said, at any moment, one of those things could disappear. But if it's not enough to sink you, that means these other things keep you afloat until you find something to replace that thing.
Yeah.
So diversity creates resiliency. And I don't think that's just true in business. I think that's true in life. Like, I think about me and my wife. Like, when I was just hanging around a bunch of dudes when I was in college, I wasn't super resilient.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, my wife brings a completely new perspective into my life, a female perspective. And all of a sudden, I'm like, man, she's way smarter than me, number one. But number two, I begin to see life through someone else's lived experience, and it helps me become stronger as a person. That's only become more true as my friends have diversified, as I've got kids, and now I've got all these different life experiences that are helping inform my mind of becoming stronger.
Yeah.
Right?
Or, for example, CrossFit in your life. It's a massive part of your life now.
Yeah.
Okay, you could break your leg today, though. Is your life pretty much going to crumble because you've put everything into CrossFit, like all your joy and things? Like, that's another good aspect of it is, like, you need to make sure not everything is in one aspect of your life. Because if it's in fitness, well, guess what? Injuries happen. And when injuries do happen, you don't want to be miserable for the next 6 months because you can't do that fitness thing. Like, you want to make sure just your joy is also kind of like spread out, and you have different hobbies, different things you like to do, different aspects of your life that you're putting energy and time and focus into.
It's so true. So can I give you my first one?
Yeah.
So, okay.
And let's just maybe say, like, so this episode is how to diversify your business in 2025. That is the kind of the point of this episode.
All right. So first of all, I have 3 points. The first one is, in my business, what makes I feel like it's strong or stronger is this first item. I take one-off clients. That's what I refer to them as. Someone approaches me. They have a really unique project they want to get done. And they're like, hey, would you mind to take care of this? So it's quite literally a one-time project. And then you get to ideate. You get to create a solution for them. And it's one time. But sprinkle enough of those throughout the year, and then all of a sudden you're talking about it's an extra $5 to $20,000 per year.
Yeah.
Even though you're not putting that much like mental effort into it, because it's not an ongoing thing. It's just being open to the wind, having a little bit of marginal time scheduled so that you can take those on, and you never know where those might lead. So I think that's a really strong way to diversify your business, is always being open to the not always ongoing, but what are those one-off clients that I can take on, even though I normally work in ongoing clients.
And I want to ping pong here for a second. This is a conversation we had the other day. I was asking you, I said, what are your thoughts on contract clients versus one and done clients, or on, because a lot of your work is clients that are on contracts. A lot of my work is not. Do you want to speak on that for a second? What do you think as a business you should maybe ask yourself, as a business owner, you should ask yourself of which avenue between those two? Do I want to go in the avenue of having clients that are on long-term contracts, long-term meaning 6 months, maybe a year, versus clients who are just on a one project basis? What would you say is the most important thing when identifying which way you should go as a business owner in that aspect?
Knowing yourself is really important when you're figuring out whether you want to do ongoing contracts or just single contracts.
Yeah.
The reason I would say that is because you have to know, am I someone that's going to be willing to dig in deep with a client over years? In fact, I just got an email today, contract renewal for a client I've had since 2021. It's now going to be the 2025 year contract. And so that's how I think. And I'm the type of person that I like to see things built out over a long period of time. It is long and difficult work because you're essentially coming into an organization or a business, and you are either becoming their marketing or comm strategy arm, or you're assisting their existing arm. And in that time, you're constantly evaluating, reevaluating, testing, implementing strategies, learning, listening, feedback, all those things. For me, the answer is I love working with clients on a long-term basis because just the amount of cool stuff you can build over time, that's just me.
And now here's me. So here's how we're similar, but also different. I also love that. I love working with clients over a long period of time. I'm not a fan of long-term contracts. So my goal is, if I love working with a client, I hope that relationship progresses over the period of a year, 3 years, 5 years. And I've already seen that in my business, which is really cool, especially when you don't have anything in writing, but a client has the trust or the loyalty to keep working with you over a period of time, and there's no obligation for them to do so. But here's why I keep it pretty open, and I don't do many long-term contracts. And this is just for the way I've operated over the last few years, is I always want to keep myself available for what may be next. And what I've realized is sometimes whenever I do have a long-term contract, that window of opportunity is a lot smaller. Would you agree?
It's so true. And I'm glad you brought up that point, because this is the whole nature of business. This is what I would tell young people if they're getting into the game is understand everything has its trade-offs.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is, like, you have to learn who are you? Who do you like to be? And you know me, man. Like, I like to, the way I view my brain, this is going to sound super weird. Please forgive the nerdy reference here. I feel like my brain is my biggest asset. It's the creativity that I bring to. So when I take someone on as a client or whatever, how you want to phrase that, I feel like they're renting time on my brain.
Yeah.
And so I am dedicating my thoughts, my creativity, because it never turns off. Even when I go on vacation and I actively don't communicate with clients, and they're totally fine with that, I'm going on walks in the morning by myself before everybody gets up, and I'm like taking notes. I'm like, okay, so we're going to try this. And that's how I treat it. I just have learned, finally, I'll turn 34 later this month. That's who I am as a person. I like operating like that. But dude, you make so much sense to me when you tell me how your brain works. Man, I get it.
I love a run and gun business. Like today, for example, I've probably communicated with probably 7 different clients, and I love that. And none of them know about the others. They do, but not that I'm like communicating with them that much. I've just always loved operating like that, and I just, again, like it goes to different stages of your life. I think whenever I'm a little older, I'll probably want a more constructed schedule where I know who I'm working with week to week or month to month or even 6 months to 6 months. How to diversify your business is maybe just identify, all right, which avenue do I want to go down 2025? Because if you're wanting long-term contracts, well, buddy, the time was yesterday, we only got a month and a half left. So you really need to figure out that beforehand, is which avenue do I want to go down? My first one, and I'm kind of tackling this more from a content standpoint. So I think one of the ways you diversify your business in 2025 is new and consistent content. Here's what I mean by that. So if you're kind of struggling with, and this is something I implemented this year, and it's paid off like crazy. So think about content in this way. What's my short form content? What's my long form content? And here's what I mean by that. Like short form, vertical reels on Instagram, for example, vertical reels on TikTok, a photo you might post on Facebook, just keeping people updated. Your stories are a great example on Instagram of short form. Now, long form, maybe 10 minutes or more. So this podcast, for example, and I like using the archive as an example of this new content. So we both identified the archive was kind of going to be our new content for 2024. It has paid off like crazy, just the amount of eyes that has been seen on this thing. I get people all the time that I see from high school, that I see in the community, that I see from where I'm at, that are seeing what we're doing because it's new and it's consistent and it's short form and it's long form.
Hello, episode 16. What up?
Yeah.
Consistency.
16 weeks And we've taken this long form. So that's the good thing about long form and short form. Use your long form to create short form. That's how you diversify. Use what you're creating in the long form, then break it down, post the clips. So we post like 7 clips a week at minimum usually.
And here's the deal. Let's be honest. We do the podcast to create the clips.
100%.
Now, I will say thank you to the dedicated friends of mine who listen to the entire podcast every week. God bless you. But I also know that 99% of people aren't going to listen to this whole conversation, but they're going to engage with the clips because they find maybe it encouraging or thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And listen, if that's all you interact with us is for 15 seconds a week, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you.
I think that is the easiest way for people to see your business in 2025. Create something long form, break it into bite-sized pieces, and post those short forms. It doesn't have to be the highest quality, but I think you have to keep consistency. And this podcast is not easy to record on a weekly basis, but we know the power it can have over a long period of time. And so we're willing to say, let's stay consistent because we know what it will do just for our personal brands and the brand of this studio.
And listen, I'm also, if anything, I am a odd creature of habit. I'm going to have Rotary every Thursday, 12 to 1. And then we're going to record the pod.
Yes.
Helps my brain. Okay, can I go with the second one? All right, so this one's I'm really excited about. And I was sharing with you a cool win from this the other day. So I started a newsletter last year, maybe the year before. And I wasn't super consistent with it until this year. And granted, the summertime I took off. But now back into it consistently. And I've added a new aspect of a video component of it. But what I'm really excited about is it's giving me something to brand around. So I struggled for years, I would say over a decade, with what do I want to be known for? I was doing one job for a long time, and even though I was good at it and I could talk about it, I never felt like I wanted to be known for that. And then I got into communication strategy, and it's fun, and I enjoy talking about it, but I was like, do I want to be known as that guy that talks about that? And then the newsletter, I just started as a pure playground thing. Ali Abdal had posted a video on YouTube, and I watched it while we were on vacation. He was just talking about, the power of writing online and the opportunities it opens up. And suddenly, when I tried it, all of a sudden I was like, I like this, even if no one else does. And then out of there was one day that I was particularly just trying to process something, and I wrote down these ideas, like 28 ideas on what I believe about the world. Simon Sinek talks about the power of talking about what you believe, not just what you know. And boom, out of that came the idea for the Stubborn Optimist Club. And so that's the title of my newsletter. And it is me through and through, because the way I would define myself is someone who chooses to see that the future is worth building better, right? And so it's been so much fun, but then it's also has a monetary element to where it's free for everyone, but you can choose to support the newsletter. And I have right now 2 people, but they've chose to be founding members, like the highest form of donation. And so it's a few $100s a year from 2 people. And I don't necessarily want money from it, but I'm also enjoying the fact that it's creating that. And man, I just can't put into words what it means to form this community of people who are like, you know what? In a world that sometimes feels dark or discouraging, we're going to choose hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun, man.
So mine is also that.
Okay.
I phrase it more like this. What can I implement weekly to get people engaged? Newsletters, phenomenal. It is. Here's the thing with your newsletter. I wouldn't say just yours, but newsletters in general. The purpose of a newsletter, and I think every business, if you are struggling with what to create, make a newsletter. I have, I think, 5 people that I get weekly newsletters from, you being one of them.
Thanks, Broski. Come on, bring it in.
And the purpose, on the outside looking in, it's not that one newsletter gets hundreds of clicks. It's that people consistently see the face and see the name. So every week, I don't even read all the newsletters. I always read yours. I don't read, I really do, I promise.
Thank you.
I don't read the others every week, but I see the name every week. And whether I want to or not, I'm going to keep seeing the name. And that all that does is just it keeps a consistent brand. It keeps a consistent identity with the people who may not follow you every single day, but they are consistently hearing that name. So let's say you have a real estate company and you just want people to remember your name. Sign them up for a newsletter. If they sign up for a newsletter, they get a free sticker. the chances are they're probably not going to cancel that newsletter. So whenever in the back of their mind someone says, "Do you know a realtor?" They know that newsletter is coming in every week, and that name, whether they want to or not, is in their inbox. Keep your name in someone's inbox. And so maybe, you're not in real estate. I want to give a great example of how to implement what can you implement weekly. So I have a buddy, and you'll have to correct me, because what is an eye doctor?
An optometrist?
Yes.
That's all right.
So he's opened up his own practice, but he has started creating these reels about his day in the life of opening up his own practice. I'm fascinated. I watch them all, and I know other people are watching them, and whether they want to or not, now they know what the brand is. And all he has to do is maybe post 2 or 3 a week about his day in the life. It's not even about his practice necessarily, but he implements that, just sprinkles it in. People will now recognize that over a long period of time, and whenever they're like, man, I can't see, who do I go to? Bang, without even thinking, they know who to go to.
There is so much power in the idea of becoming the person that others think of when they need something. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that is natural to me. I'm a small town guy. You're from Danville, relatively small. And
I'm from Stanford. Let's
Stanford.
put a little respect on it. But
sorry.
Yeah. Shout out Lincoln.
Stanford, please don't come for me in the comments. But I think there's something too. In small towns, we know that it's like, I'm going to own it because it's my last name here, Phelps Heating and Cooling. Mm-hmm. Like, my family has done HVAC for years. And so not everyone, but for a lot of people in this community, when they need HVAC, like, they're like, it's right there on West Main, And I when I began thinking about my business, I'm like, I want to become the person that when people think of, they need comm strategy, they're like, oh, Caleb, he's a good dude. And that's really what I make content for, is even though I'm writing for the Stubborn Optimist Club, I also know that there might be potential clients in that readership, and they're going to know from my writing who I am as a person, what I believe. And so they're going to choose, hopefully, to work with me because they know me. They have that parasocial connection there. And I think that's really special when you begin to think about ways that you can market yourself to people in non-traditional ways of running ads. There are ways to do it for zero or almost no money.
Yeah. Well, let's think more on a weekly basis. Let's say someone newsletter is just not in their realm. What would be maybe 2 other things? Or
come up with a show.
Okay.
Come up with a show, and it's as simple as this. Give me a business.
Boutique.
Okay, is it boutique or boutique?
I don't know.
I don't know. Say boutique for purposes.
Okay.
So let's say a local boutique wants to, they want to get into branding, some type of weekly reoccurring content that their members or their fans or the people that frequent there, let's say twice a year.
It. Can I piggyback? Outfit of the week.
Okay, yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Yeah. So they want to create something. So they're going to create a show, and it's called Outfit of the Week.
Yeah.
And now immediately what the boutique owner is thinking about is like, seriously? I mean, so you just want me to show this mannequin? No, dude. Here's what I would watch as a guy is every week you show how women assemble their outfits. So you're going to have women watching it because they're like, oh yeah, okay, so I can match this. But then think about all the other things. Like right now, it's like mid-November. I'm going to be watching it because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to go pick out something for my wife, I need this component, I need that component, because I don't know anything about it, right? And so then all of a sudden, you're already dressing up these mannequins or displays. So all you do is you set up your phone. I'm going to do step by step.
Yeah.
Okay. You set up your phone on a shelf or a tripod, pretty close to you, so it's got good lighting in a window, good audio, and you're going to say, hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Outfit of the Week. I'm going to show you, this is really cool, we just got this in. I'm going to keep this very short. Here's 60 seconds. This top, these pants, and accessorize with this. If you're looking for shoes, check out the bottom of the mannequin. Now the reason this works is, and you talk them through texture, you talk them through colors, you talk them through the cut, you talk them through all the things, and then at the very end you say, hey listen, we just got this in, come pick it up before it goes out. That's 60 seconds, and that's it.
Yeah. You know what? One of my favorite things that a company does?
What's that?
Crumble cookie. Oh my gosh. Every Sunday night, we tune in Flavors of the Week. Is it Flavors? Is that what they call it? Flavors of the Week?
So you're telling me every Sunday night, you and Key are like, we're watching
Flavors of the week. Flavors of the week
It
doesn't
doesn't even matter because I'm here for the
it doesn't
idea,
sound
bro.
right, but I think it is called Flavors of the Week. But man, we get so juiced for it. Every Sunday night, we know they're posting their video of their 6 new cookie flavors. It just still doesn't cook Flavors of the Week. I guess it is Flavors of the Week. Regardless, we tune in every week, and all they do is, I mean, they probably they're a massive company, so they have a video production, but whatever. You keep people engaged and looking forward to something every single week of the year. That's only 52 videos. Like, that's not a crazy amount. Like, just do something simple every week to keep people engaged.
That's the beauty, though. Like, you're now hooked in, and it's like primetime TV back in, growing up before on demand was so popular. You're scheduling around it. You're going to watch it, and they know that they can depend on so many impressions per week are going to lead to so many conversions of buying into it. Give me another business. Let's just do one more.
Let's like a big company maybe.
Sure.
BPN, Bear Performance Nutrition.
Okay, so this one's perfect. I don't know anything about this. I know it's Nick. Is it Nick Bear? Okay. Here's something I think would be really fun. If they did an ongoing series, let's say 6 episodes, and they made it seasonal, and they picked a different athlete in a different sport every time, and they approached the athlete and they said, hey, listen, straight up, we want to be as transparent as possible, because we all know, we've all heard the thing about the supplements industry has, there's no oversight or anything. They're like, you know what? We want to see what difference it makes for you. And so they pay for them to go get like blood tested and all these things, right? And then they start giving them supplements and they film. It's like documentary style. And there's a new episode every week. And it's the journey of the difference that the supplements make in their life. And so what's cool about that is all of a sudden you have a bunch of lacrosse athletes who are exposed to it because you've broken into their arena of influence. And then you got softball, and then let's go Winter Olympics. You got the curling team over here. Like, you could quite literally do that. And then all of a sudden, 2 years down the road, you've got 10 seasons worth of 4, 5, 6 episodes each, showing the difference that your supplements make in every sport that exists.
I like that. No, that's really good. Do you have a third one?
I do, but it really is circling back to the first one. For me, it's not just the one-off clients that matter, but it's the mainstay of my business, which is ongoing clients. So these long-term contracts are fun to me because, again, I love seeing the difference you can make when you take a brand and you lead them through building trust and you build the bridges of communication with their audience. And the thing that I love about that the most is it causes me to grow. It causes me to learn new technology, new dynamics within workplaces. Some organizations are as small as, 12, 15. Others that I've worked with, hundreds of employees. And I think it's fun because you begin to realize that communications, I actually had somebody say this to me one time. They said, communications, like, that's really not a necessary thing in an organization. And I was like, you're right. Until you realize that if it's not there, everything falls apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing for me is it's one of those things that seems superfluous until you see the difference it makes. And then you're like, man, like, this has made the difference in the culture of our organization. Because here's the deal. What do we know about culture? The better your culture gets, the better that your conversions get, the better your conversions, it's cash flow, that's everything in your ability to exist decades into the future.
Yeah. Well, this is one more I have, kind of two. Now that you said that, made me think of something. One more thing in the realm of content. If you are a business, I think one of the easy ways to diversify your business is, number one, show a familiar face. I think that's very important. So whenever we were starting the archive, and I started my YouTube channel and started posting more things on TikTok, I had a lot of people reach out and say, man, this is so smart. You're putting a face behind your business. So people know, like, Greer Productions, but now introduce them to Austin Greer, the face of the business. So number one, keep a familiar face in front of the business. So if that's the owner, if that's the creative director, whoever that is, let people build a little trust with that person. If they see that familiar face, I know that person, let me tune in. And then number two, now the diversity here, show a new face. Introduce people to new characters within the business, because what it does, it's like a TV show. So you have your favorite show, let's say Ted Lasso, for example. So season 2 ended. Well, who are you going to see on season 3? Of course,
I'm gonna see Ted Lasso.
you're going to see Ted Lasso.
That's right.
But what do they do in that first episode of the new season every time?
Oh, they're gonna tie in all the things from the previous season, and they're gonna cast forward a little bit of a teaser about what might be in the new season.
And who's that new face,
That's
right?
who's the new face.
So like that's what keeps you coming back is like they introduce you to this new character in the show, and then throughout that season you build trust with that new character. And then guess what? At the end of the season, going into the next season, they're going to throw in a new character. And so that's one of the best ways as a business. Let's think like entertainment, use entertainment to be effective is like introduce a new character into your business. It's not just for show. If someone's a part of your team, like if you're a business owner and you have people on your team, you should want to showcase those people. Like it's not just like for entertainment and for show, but it also is, it just keeps people engaged. So that would be like my last thing on how to diversify your content. Now I also want to throw out this, and this was kind of your last point as well. These are 2 questions I ask myself at the end of every single year going into a new year is what clients do I want to keep? And what clients do I want to acquire? I think that's very important. Business is very difficult. And if you have people that you're working with that you don't want to work with going into a new year, that kind of already sets your year up to be stressful. So number one, who do you want to cut off? Like who is just not panning out as a good client or as a good contractor, like people that we work with in business? Who are the people you want to keep and cut out? But then who are also the clients you want to take in? And I'm not just saying like one client, I'm saying like a area. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is something that we've kind of ping pong back and forth here in the studio is like, who are some people we want to work with and how can we acquire those people? Like that, these are conversations we're having months before we even reach out to those people, because when the opportunity presents itself, we want to make sure we're ready to pitch to that person or those people that, hey, we want to work with you and here's why.
I think it's smart because the long-term strategy for businesses is oftentimes the thing that people don't dedicate a lot of time to.
Right.
There's an old saying that don't be so busy working in your business that you forget to work on your business. And man alive, if that's not true.
Yeah.
One of the best things that I do is, especially like, you know, this week I've ended some long-term initiatives I've worked on. And so I have literally taken this week and it's like hitting the boat coming out of the lake and hitting the no wake zone. Mm-hmm. You know, when you pull back on the throttle and all of a sudden it's like, woo.
Yeah.
And dude, I've been getting my work done, but I've been super chilling out. The other morning, you weren't in here. I sat down in that chair and meditated for like 15 minutes, listened to some music, just thought through things, calm my mind down. And that all goes into the importance of remembering we have to work on our business.
Yeah.
If we're going to reach our big dream of what this place can become, man, it's not going to happen on accident. Mm-mm. We have to be intentional.
Yeah. And this is a great time. I think the timing of this episode is perfect for that, because winter months for, I would say, majority of business owners are slower. So use this time to do some housekeeping. Like, what are some things that I can do to kind of mix up my, not my identity, but just identify more with my crowd in 2025. Like, this is a great time through the winter. Some people like to take this time off. Don't take it off. Take it to build up so that like when 2025 is here, like you are fully ready to tackle the year and to like welcome in new people and a new audience to your business.
Man, it's such a good word. The wintertime, I think, you know, the days are shorter, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, right? And we're thinking through the holiday season. The thing that I have come to accept is that we are not machines. Mm-hmm. We are rhythmic in nature.
Yeah.
And so when the days are shorter, take that time, rest. Like you said, though, don't necessarily take it off. Mm-hmm. Take it as a time to really plug in, to really dial in. What is it that I want out of this next chapter of my life? If we're going to think of years as chapters, hey, listen, we might get 80 of them. We might get 90 of them if we're lucky. So let's just be intentional. It doesn't mean that you have to make all the growth next year. But I often say this. In fact, one of my clients started repeating it back to me. It made me super, super happy. What's 1% of improvement I can make next year?
Yeah.
Because if you take 1%, and you compound interest that over time. Now, granted, 1% compound interest is slow, but my point is I'm trying to get them to really pull back and really make sure that when you begin dialing in these systems, it's never just 1%. It feels like it's a small step, but when you do it really well, man, the returns are massive.
Yeah. I would love to hear some other people's opinions on
Absolutely.
how to diversify their business. And we're not speaking in a place of like we know it all.
Oh, heck no.
We're just kind of speaking on like what's worked for us this year.
Absolutely.
And these are just conversations we would have outside of this podcast anyways. And so
If I was to call us anything, if I were to put a name on us, I would say we're just really enthusiastic learners.
100%.
And that's all we're trying to do is just pass on stuff that's worked for us or
Yeah.
things that we're curious about.
Yeah.
So I do have a question for you.
Okay.
This is the hot take of the week. Take of the week. Favorite holiday snack? Because there is, I mean, I have to say, there's a lot riding on your answer to this. When the Christmas season hits, what's the snack? It comes out every year.
There's a few. Let me not skip over. Let's
Okay.
give Thanksgiving justice. A good old pumpkin roll.
I'm going to walk with you, but I'm not going to join the table on the
That's
pumpkin
fine.
roll.
Perfectly fine. This is something that we had at the coffee shop whenever I worked there. Cider. Oh my gosh.
Dude,
Let's not
let's-
skip over. Cider doesn't get enough attention. I'm going to be honest.
Listen, I still think about this apple cider that my oldest sister made 15 years ago. I still think about it.
Yeah.
She melted Red Hots into it.
In the pot. Yeah. Cider in the pot. Oh man. Cider, pumpkin
think
roll.
about that.
And then here's the Christmas one. And I this is all that's coming to mind, so I have to say it. The Little Debbie Christmas tree white frosting.
I knew you would not fail me. I knew you would.
Like,
fail
I
me.
wish I could say something homemade, like my grandmother's
We're
fudge.
talking about snacks, bro.
The Little Debbie.
The Little Debbie
Christmas cake.
cakes.
White frosted with
White
the
frosted.
man.
The little sprinkles.
And they've
got
got yours, though?
They have the mega size. Those are they're kind of an abomination though. There's
Yeah.
too much of a good thing. You
Yeah,
know what
I
I'm saying? Okay, so the Christmas tree cake thing is mine. Somebody gave me one on Halloween, and I was like, this person knows what's
Yeah.
up. But I would say if we're talking homemade though, hands down, my mom's bourbon ball recipe. My sister has taken over making those now, and nothing like it, man.
I'm not much on the peanut butter bourbon balls. Like, it's too rich for me.
Listen, that's all right.
I don't mind it, but
You can miss me with all that peanut butter business.
Yeah.
Like, hit me with the bourbon, though.
Fair
the
enough.
bourbon balls are killer.
Okay.
All right, guys, listen, thanks for tuning into episode 16. I'm really excited for where this is going to go as we approach episode 20. 22, 25, because we'll really be getting into the winter months at that point. And so if we can encourage you with anything, here's the encouragement I would have. Put in the comments, DM us, any way that you can get in contact with us. Let us know what is something that you would like us to talk about as we head into the holiday season and kind of get into some more topics that maybe we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
So does that sound good?
I would love that.
All right, guys, until next time, appreciate
Peace.
you.